Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes.com, with me as your host, Chris War On Arbco McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me today to discuss a brand new mobile game called G.I. Joe War On Cobra is Justin, War On Broca Bell. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this news burst. A short while ago it came to our attention that a new mobile game for G.I. Joe is coming soon called War On Cobra. Google Play have listed the game on their site, but it is currently unavailable in the US and UK markets. The game, made by D3 Go, is a strategy game that resembles other titles such as Command & Conquer and many other app games that are currently on the market. The game allows you to choose a side and battle in G.I. Joe War On Cobra, build, upgrade and defend your base in this high-action, competitive real-time strategy multiplayer game featuring your favourite G.I. Joe heroes and Cobra villains. The War On Cobra wages on. Where does your allegiance lie? Clash with or against iconic characters like Duke, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Roadblock, Storm Shadow, Baroness and more. Deploy or demolish units like Hiss, Mamba, Vamp, Sharktooth and land drones. The future of Earth is at stake. Will you save it or conquer it? The design looks to be a fresh animated take with exaggerated features based on gameplay we have already seen and promotional images on both the Google Play and D3 Go websites. We are not sure when the game will be made available, but thanks to Justin's IT skills, he has managed to play the game himself and can tell us all about it now. Justin, first, before we get into the details of the game, are you surprised at this? I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Oh, it totally did. Yeah, I mean, nobody was really expecting it. The last word we got, there was some random artist, I think, on Twitter who posted what, looked to be some background art for some mobile game, but it was confirmed that it was custom stuff that he did on his own, kind of as a job application, so to speak.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we hadn't really heard a single thing about this anywhere.
And then boom, all of a sudden it appears on the Google Play website. And so just a few details, I suppose, before we kind of go anywhere else. A lot of people are getting very angry at the fact they can't download it yet, and that's basically because it's not really out yet. So don't worry too much, guys. It's on its way.
Right.
It looks as though UK and US markets completely unavailable at the moment, but it is out some places. And I know David Arenas, shout out to David, in Spain, he knows of a few people that have been playing it out there, so could be available in some smaller markets, which, as you've mentioned to me, is kind of standard issue for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how frequently it happens, but I do know for G.I. Joe Battleground, which was kind of G.I. Joe's last game, their card-based collectibles game, that also had a similar release where it launched in foreign countries before hitting the United States. Whether they do that kind of as a pseudo, beta test, so to speak, because I don't know if their largest market is United States players or not, and they want to release it elsewhere first. But I mean, the game is, I've played probably about 10 or 15 minutes of it so far, and it's in English. It uses American colloquialisms. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it is going to be released in the United States at some point, probably sooner rather than later.
Do you think Android and iOS as well?
I would suspect eventually, yeah. I mean, I think the trick is with Android versus iOS, putting on my IT hat for a little while, Android is kind of a more open source system where you can kind of tweak it to do what you want to do, where iOS is very restrictive and you really have to kind of follow their pathways. So I think it's more likely that if they were going to launch a beta version in a different country, Android would be the platform of choice, and iOS I'm sure will be following behind. It's the same thing. I think G.I. Joe Battleground ended up being out eventually for both Android and iOS as well after their limited Android foreign nation release. So I think it's all part of the same sort of release strategy.
So calm down, guys. You're probably going to get it on both formats.
Give it a month and everybody will be sick of playing the game already and asking when something new is going to come out. I
think the funny thing was I posted it kind of saying, has anyone played it yet? Because I hadn't had it I just thought I was behind the news on this one. I just thought this had been out for a while. It said it had been posted on the 25th of this month, and obviously now being the 28th, I was kind of like, oh, so maybe I've missed out here. But no, apparently it's news to a lot of people, but don't worry, as Justin has mentioned, it will probably more than likely be coming out on those formats very, very soon. Now, Justin, take us through the game. I mean, first off, there's more of a stylistic kind of animated style going on, isn't there, here?
Very much so. It's almost like playing an animated series, so to speak. I mean, the gunfire and the explosion effects and all the characters kind of look very cartoonish, which I think is cool. That's in my wheelhouse. I kind of like that style. But it's still, you can clearly identify the vehicles and the characters, and they all look as they should. There's a mixture of familiar faces and some new faces, so to speak, and new kind of elements that aren't going to be immediately familiar, but I think that's fine too. But it's I really love kind of the animated style they used and the way they've gone about. The first few levels are sort of an introductory thing. I know there was over at GeneralsJoes, I don't know if you've posted it on the Full Force yet, there's actually a YouTube video of gameplay, and that's kind of the first. Actually, that was what I watched sequence. First.
I thought, well, I need to do some research on this, and looked around, and on YouTube, I found that gameplay video like immediately. I haven't posted it yet. Yep. But to be honest, we're probably going to be utilizing it in this video.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, and as far as gameplay goes, I mean, anybody who's played any kind of real-time strategy like Command and Conquer, Command and Conquer Rivals, I played that for a little while a few months ago, and this is like lockstep, almost the same sort of format, base building, resource mining, building defenses, building, deploying vehicles and stuff. And there's, the Vamp and the Eagle Hawk and all sorts of cool things like that. And
it sounds really interesting. Are they going for more kind of like toy-based vehicle kind of things here?
Well, in a way, but I'm at a screen. I've got this thing loaded through BlueStacks, which is an Android emulator on my PC, and I'm kind of poking through some of the stuff now, and there's a squad collection screen where you can kind of add more characters as you get to certain tiers. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing what I think, and a lot of the images are kind of faded out and have text over them, so it's kind of tough to see exactly who's there. But I'm seeing Scarlet, I'm seeing Bazooka, I'm seeing somebody that could be either Beachhead or Firefly.
Nice.
I'm seeing Snake Eyes, although he doesn't unlock until the character's at tier 3. I'm seeing, a Hydrofoil and a Mobat. What looks like Scrap Iron, maybe somebody else. I'm also seeing, what looks like a G.I. Joe version of a Bat, kind of an android trooper sort of thing.
Awesome.
The Eagle Hawk, of course. Then there's like the Windmill Helicopter, which clearly looks like the toy with those funky 4-blade, things. There's the Whale, the Killer Whale, the Havoc, Gung Ho. There's a bunch of cool-looking characters, all in their animated style, that really lends me to think, they may be going a little bit deeper than one might expect, especially with vehicles like the Windmill and stuff like that. So I'm calling the vehicle the Windmill. It's a vehicle.
I was going to say it's the X-Wing chopper. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, X-Chopper. Yeah, Skystorm. Yeah.
But Windmill was the pilot. Yeah.
I'm really excited just because, again, okay, so let's go through the litany of games that have been and gone that have included G.I. Joe characters. So obviously Street Fighter 2, just kidding. So which I still have on my phone, which is not updated yet. The G.I. Joe Battleground was a big one, wasn't it?
Oh, I loved that. That one was, it was great in a way and obnoxious in another way. I mean, I really enjoyed, they did a whole wealth of really awesome custom art for Battleground. Like, that was the goal of the game, is to collect these trading cards. But in a way, it wasn't like this, where you're actually seeing the vehicles fly around and drop bombs and shoot lasers and stuff like that. It was card based. You flipped cards over and whoever won, and that was that. So, but it was a lot of fun, and it was really fun to try to collect all these different cards and all that stuff. So that was probably the biggest one.
I didn't like the hamstring element of, you weren't allowed to kind of really enjoy it to its fullest unless you paid a fortune.
Yeah.
I mean, you could not really enjoy the game without dropping like hundreds of dollars on it.
That quickly discouraged me. Like, I played for the first probably several months, and I amassed a pretty decent collection of cards, but it got to the point where they were doing these alliance-based, team-based sort of conquests, where if you really wanted to get, all the different versions of all the different characters and cards, you had to start putting money in, and that's where I kind of say, I don't mind, dropping some money here and there,
here and there, but not like, you kind of, it's when it's like, you realize, oh man, I've just spent like $100 on this in like 2 weeks, and you just think, oh, that's bad. Like,
exactly.
You don't. There's like, there's obviously getting a lot of money from there's obviously, you have to monetize these things. I totally understand that.
Right.
But, that to me is a little bit kind of almost exploitative.
Yeah.
And then obviously after Battleground, which it came and went, unfortunately, we got G.I. Joe Strike, which was like this kind of very weak kind of Snake Eyes based game where you're just punching and kicking left and right, scrolling. And I mean that ran out of like steam very early for me.
Yeah.
We also had Micro Machines, which was there was a whole section of G.I. Joe stuff you could get on Micro Machines. And again, I spent almost like over a year on that game trying to get to the G.I. Joe stuff, and again had to drop money in order to really, get there in good time. And by the time I got there, it got shut down. So that sucks. So
I didn't even realize that Micro Machines was shut down. Is it really?
Yeah, real bummer that.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
And again, like I loved the game and really enjoyed it, but then, again, like the money aspect really screws it over, I think, and kind of screws them over.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got this one. I don't think I've missed any out, have I? Any any app game based ones?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. No.
Obviously, there's Toy Soldiers, but that wasn't an app based kind of game.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But in any case, how does this like stand up to those kind of games?
Well, I'm really enjoying it so far. I mean, it's a lot better than G.I. Joe Strike, obviously. I mean, G.I. Joe Strike, I'm a G.I. Joe fanatic. I will play anything G.I. Joe related. And I played that game, I think, for like 15 minutes, and I just installed it for my phone. I was done. So I don't play absolutely anything, but I can tolerate quite a bit when it comes to G.I. Joe. And, I was infatuated with Battlegrounds for a while. I mean, I was downloading all the art. I was really getting into it. But this game is a kind of a different animal. And I'm a little bit biased because I absolutely love real-time strategy games. When I first got my computer in college, I'm going to totally date myself, it was an old, I think it was a 38060 X2 or something like that. It was not even a 486 back then, but I got Dune 2, which was built on kind of the old Command & Conquer engine.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved that game, played that game for hours and hours and hours. We had LAN parties kind of in our little college dorm room area. So, I mean... Yeah, pretty much. I'm a 45-year-old guy talking about a game based on action figures. I think that my nerddom is fully qualified at this point.
Yeah, I don't know why I even say that. It's a given on the news on the Full Force podcast.
So I mean, this kind of game is right up my alley. I love this stuff, and I love the animated style. I love so far so good. Like I said, I've only played 15, 20 minutes so far, and I'm trying not to go too deep into it just because I am playing it somewhat illegitimately. So, if I like attach my Facebook account to it and start like really diving into it, then, I could end up not being able to pay the actual release version, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I'm having a lot of fun. I mean, you can do bombing strikes, and the conquest swoop in and drop bombs on enemies.
Awesome.
There's bats, there's Baroness, Firefly I've seen so far. There's just a lot of really cool shout outs, and the one thing, obviously with computer generated modeling, they got to get their money's worth. So they do have some of the same vehicles on G.I. Joe side and on the Cobra side.
Yeah.
But when the G.I. Joe hydrofoil appears, it's colored in blue, kind of like the convention hydrofoil.
Interesting.
Which is kind of cool. And they gave it a name, and I don't remember what the name is off the top of my head.
It's not the shark tooth, is it?
No. It's in that gameplay video. It's some totally new, different kind of name.
Awesome.
That I don't recall off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a blue version of the hydrofoil. But you can also get the regular Cobra Red one too. And same for the Conquest. There's a G.I. Joe Conquest, and there's also a Cobra Conquest.
Python, is it the Python one?
It's not quite Pythonized. It's similar. It's kind of a reddish color, and it doesn't quite look exactly like Python Patrol, but you can kind of tell that's sort of the idea they're going with, I think.
Ah, really cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot more fun with this one than I was with pretty much any of those other mobile games. And there's clearly, some work and effort and development that has gone into this, and a lot of little throwbacks and things like that. I think it's a really fun game so far.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Well, again, thanks for jumping on and giving us a little play-by-play of what's involved. Like we said, guys, this is coming soon. We kind of jumped the gun a little bit, or I jumped the gun a little bit on the Facebook page, thinking that it was already out. That is not the case, really. It's not on a global scale in any case, but we fully expect iOS and Android, and we fully expect it to be released very soon. So keep an eye out for it. And in the meantime, Justin, thank you for jumping on and giving us us a little play-by-play. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely. Anytime. It's so far so good. So keep watching the Google Play Store and the App Store, definitely.
Awesome. That's it for this installment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my awesome co-host Justin Bell. See you next time, and as always, War on Cobra, full force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force. Cobra is taking over this month with Cobra Convergence 4. The entire month of July will be turned blue thanks to Hooded Cobra Commander 788 and a plethora of G.I. Joe related YouTubers, podcasters and much, much more. So make sure you check them out over the 31 days of July. All hail Mighty Cobra.